Hey, what's up everyone? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the 1 year market kind of outlook slash review of a coin that originally not a lot of people knew exactly what in the world was going on with the 2023 Lincoln Shield cent, and it was just over a year. I would say last, geez, April, somewhere around there, when folks were going through their 2023 Lincoln cents, and a few folks were finding the little extra V notch next to Victor David Brenner's initials at the base of Lincoln's bust. We'll actually take a look at a close up of what to find today, and it didn't really hit off like gangbusters at the very beginning, again, because there was no real attribution to the thing. Um, all of the error and variety enthusiasts out in the field, they were a little bit conflicted as to what that is, and even to this day, I would say 50% of the Lincoln Cent quote unquote variety error enthusiasts are a little bit kind of split on this particular anomaly. But we need to talk about it in this because there is still quite a bit of a market for this, even though we are beyond a year removed from the original discovery. It wasn't until known error enthusiast and professional error guy, guru, I guess, Mike Diamond, actually took a look at the coin and gave it its blessing. Actually ended up doing, I believe, an article either in Aeroscope or Coin World or something like that, where he talked about this particular anomaly, and eventually it became something of a sensation throughout the year of 2023 and into 2024. I think where things really got serious with this coin is that when Annex first started attributing these, if you're lucky enough to find some of the earlier ones, I don't know if they're still doing it to this day, they actually called these the VDBV varieties at the time. And it wasn't too long thereafter, maybe about 30 days, that NGC and eventually PCGS followed suit because of the news that Mike Diamond had kind of given this what he thought was some sort of dye variety on there. It's blessing. All right. So all three of the, I would say, the major grading companies, I'm going to assume that CACG is also recognizing this one as well. They are terming this one the Extra V variety. And the coins are selling really well raw. And the graded coins certainly have a market for themselves too. As a matter of fact, where the marketability and kind of like the efforts in this coin today is going to be solely to buy them at the best, finest grade that you can find, so that way you can grade it. This is literal flippers gold right here. And all the while the prices have kind of retraced and dropped a little bit, there's still a lot of money to be made here if you're able to come across some large caches of these. Now, let's talk a little bit about where these were found initially. The early reports through the first number of examples of these being discovered were actually in upstate New York, and that was kind of where the initial drop was relegated to, was in that area of New York State. Now, throughout the course of, I would say, the next like 3 months after the initial reports of the drop being in upstate New York, people were finding these in NYC. They were finding it in the city, deep within the city. There were also reports that these have been found also in Pennsylvania. So either one of two things are happening here. These were originally dispersed through the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City or in Boston, one of the two. And even to this day, if you are in the New England region of the United States, I would say you have a great shot at finding some of these. And if you do, it could represent a boon for you. So what you're seeing on screen here is actually one of the PCGS true views of one of the coins that we're going to talk about today, both the obverse and reverse. And you probably already see it there at the base of Lincoln's bust, the VDB, and then that tiny little V notch right next to it is what was causing all the buzz. When we come up to this close up, and this is a close up that's superimposed from the PCGS slab, you're going to see that right here there's going to be a little bit of a V notch that is pretty close, but not the same as the type of V that was notched in or worked in or engraved originally into the working dies, or not the working dies, the hubs. When these things were first created, where this extra V anomaly comes into play is purely speculative at this point. But what we do know, and what we cannot control, is that this is a known variety, and because the grading community has recognized this as such, it's going to continue on with that. Just in the event that maybe some information does come out later on that debunks what this is. So I would say at this point, just continue to do what you do. If you find these, go ahead and do whatever you need to do. Pitch and promote these as the extra V anomaly. Now, take a close look at what you're seeing here. This is the only variant and placement of this extra V anomaly on the coins. People were finding these things like way over to the right over here. Some people were finding it right above the initials and various other places. And what I could say there is that those are debunked as being an extra V placed type variant, and more so just a contact mark, which is really easy to do on these. And there have been a few unscrupulous individuals that have gone out of their way to replicate what this is, by either scraping that area or doing something else to give it that look, to deceive the secondary market. So always be aware of where the placement is. It's going to have a very distinct look. If it's not deep inset like this one is here, and it's very similar to the first V of VDB, then oftentimes and more than likely you're not going to have the variety in question. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at eBay. As of this taping right now, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick refresh on the screen here. There are 127 unique hits when I put in 2023 Lincoln Extra V. That is actually quite a bit. But, however, that number was a heck of a lot higher about 6 months ago, when I'd say we were kind of like at the maximum kind of like discovery rate for these things. Call it like after the first of the year, sometime in January, February, is when there was a really deep pull of these on eBay, either graded, raw, or things like this, where people were actually putting up full bank boxes of 2023 Phillies. This one here has the origin of Pennsylvania, and they're asking quite a stiff amount of money for these, okay? With it not being in the guaranteed drop zone, this one right here is going to be a pretty big gamble if you're going to get in there, because origin Pennsylvania, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's northern Pennsylvania, which would be more likely as to where this would come from and the best shot at finding the extra V coins. If it was, say, Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, more than likely you're not going to find any of those extra V coins in there. So always be careful when you see things like this. They may be too good to be true. And again, $140 is not a small amount of money, considering that the face value of these bank boxes are $25. But you're going to see, and these are all coins that people are asking money for. They haven't necessarily sold. We'll actually take a look at that here momentarily. But you'll see that 65 graded coins, this person right here has 250 or best offer. Here's a raw one right here at $87. That's a little bit on the high side, unless the coin is an absolute choice gem condition, which pretty much means a Midstate 66 or higher. I will probably avoid this kind of price point unless you're absolutely sure that you have a banger there on your hands. Here's a 66 here for $349.99 or best offer. Some more raw ones. Again, please do be aware of the placement and what the V's look like on these. Like this one right here. This one I have a lot of doubts to. This one looks like it's probably been fabricated, or it just simply looks like a contact mark. As you can see, there's a lot of contact marks on this coin. And not to mention that, someone did put a bid in already at $35 to see one bid. It's a Denver, right? Denver's, there hasn't been any reported legitimate extra V coins for the Denver. There have been some people that claim they have found something. But unless, a big error attribution person like Mike Diamond or Ken Potter or someone else had, blessed this particular coin as being that, I would say, you'd be best to avoid things like this. Again, you're going to be pissing away money. See, the seller doesn't accept returns, but you can send it back. You're just not going to get your shipping costs back. All right. And it's going to be a waste of time and energy and shipping fees and all that stuff. Not to mention that this coin has a big old fingerprint on it. So, you do what you want to do on there. And then, this one right here doesn't look like it has an extra V. Here's a Midstate 67, which obviously is going to be the grade that you want. This is the top pop grade through PCGS, which bears a lot of weight on how much you could sell these for. I'm not saying it's a blank check type of coin, because as you can see, they have 750 here or best offer and nobody's hit it yet. So the market is speaking with their wallets. There were a number of examples that did hit $1,000 through areas like Great Collections and various other sites off eBay's grid. But you can see, and you can just kind of work your way down to see what's out there. Like here's one singular coin that's not even graded for $300 or best offer. So obviously people think that there's still a high amount of interest in these coins. More so on the raw side. I think people are a little bit more sensible on the graded stuff because, again, the market has kind of spoken. There's a certain price point for each one of the grades from 64 all the way up to 67. And people, for the most part, are kind of behaving themselves and adhering to what the market commands. I think at this point, it's a big supply issue, right? There's just way too many of these coins out in the world today, out on the secondary market. They're being sold on these bigger auction houses as well. They're being sold through coin shows and shops. I mean, the secret is really out on these, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to be careful. You got to not overspend, overpay for any of these coins at this point because the prices have dropped. All right. So you see kind of a snippet of raw and graded coins. However, what does it look like for actual realized sales? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here are some of the more recent sales, and it paints a completely different picture of what we think these things are worth. Starting out with a couple graded examples. Now, I don't know if you guys recall a few moments ago, a Midstate 65, whether it's PCGS or NGC grades, people had those at $250. Yet we have one here that's sold with 31 bids for $114. If we move on one more, there's a Midstate 66 red. It says extra V on there. It's legit for $167.50. And if we continue on down the line, here's the modified explanation on an annex slab. They don't call it the VDB-V variety anymore. That's an early adopter. If you found those, I would say those would be ones that I personally would invest in just to have an example, but I certainly wouldn't pay anything above like a 15 or 20% premium relative to grade because it says VDBV on it. All right. But here's a couple annex slabs. People are really low on annex grades. I think by the time that the news came out that NGC and PCGS were both respectively starting to grade these, that kind of put a little bit of a hurt on the annex graded pieces. And then the prices are still very much all over the place. I would say that the ones that are selling for a considerable amount of cash, people really do believe that these coins have a shot at a 67, and that's kind of like the big reason why that anyone would spend $61. Not to mention bid it up multiple times by 15 bids. Okay, and people are selling multiple lots. That's kind of a microcosm of the actual supply out there, which is quite plentiful. You're gonna have really no hard time trying to find any of these, and then there's this one here, extra V, but there's a notch like way over to the right of where the normal placement is. It's still sold for 16 bucks. Someone is certainly speculating that that is like a variant or a rare variant of some type, even though it hasn't been proven in the marketplace. But you can see that the prices, for the most part, have kind of settled for raw examples in that $15 to $20 range. There are some that are a little bit higher, but there's a lot of them that are kind of like fool's gold. Here's a 67, ladies and gentlemen. Remember the coin in PCGS plastic, mind you, the coin that we looked at for $750. Here's one that's sold for $550. All right, so the prices continue to wallow down, while not completely worthless and down to zero. There's still some money to be made here, folks. It's just when you're hoping for the 67 grade and they come back 64, that is kind of a letdown. 65 too is also not one that I want to personally see. This one ended up selling for $202, which is more than that first example that we looked at when we were looking at Realiz Sales on that. So again, the prices have by no means I guess kind of stabilized at all. Here's a 65 that sold for $350, no less than about a week ago, July 5th. So I mean, again, there's no real set strategy or price here. People are no doubt about overpaying for these things. And it's you get to a point where these things are going to be down to like, on the average $10-15, because there were just so many of these. Once we begin to see the graded prices get down to a level where it's not equitable to send these out to an NGC, to a PCGS, that's where we're going to see these particular coins erode. And another X factor that some of these folks or anybody hasn't really thought about, well, what if an error expert, or if there's some news from the mint that came out saying, oh yeah, this is an ejection mark and every single coin will have that. All right, well, that's not going to make it a mint error anymore. That's just going to be something that's going to be along the lines of machine doubling or die deterioration or something to that effect. So, if that news does come out, and then if the mint says it's one thing and then Mike Diamond says, oh yeah, okay, I believe what you guys are saying, all because that there's a manufacturing change of the dies or whatever the case may be, then that's going to erode and kill the value on all these coins. So if you do have them, I probably wouldn't sit on these. These are, even to this day, what I consider to be like realistic cash cow coins right out of circulation. I figure now's high time to take advantage of the market. While, I mean, look at this. There are still some coins that are selling upwards of $50 or higher, $70, $75. And then why does any one person bid these things up to $22 when there's been like 6 of them that we looked at that did sell for about $60, $70? There's really no rhyme or reason. I think it's all in, what does the coin look like? Are there unnatural bidding circumstances like shilling or anything like that going on? I don't know. I really don't know. But, I would say don't be naive and think that that's not the case, because, since the dawn of eBay and online auctions, there is always that possibility that shilling does occur. So always be privy to that practice, and if you're going to get into this, kind of bid with a little discretion, and when you do that, you'll do okay. So I would say there's still money to be made here. Grading turnaround times are, like 6 to 8 weeks as far as I'm concerned. Even, during the summer, there is a quite a bit of demand for coin grading right now. And, with a lot of these that are being submitted as bulk submissions, man, that's going to, play very heavily on the turnaround. If you're sending out two, three, 400 coins, to get these things done, then, expect a very lengthy and long turnaround time before you get these things back. So please do, kind of figure that in. One more point before I let you guys go. We've been on this thing for 20 minutes long. I didn't know we could talk about one coin for 20 minutes, but there is a lot to deep dive and dissect here. Let's remember that in about 6 weeks, we're going to be entering into the holiday season. All right. Once Labor Day hits, kids are back to school. And then the collectors are going to be back to participating in the hobby. And then there's going to be more shows toward the tail end of the year. I would say get ready. There might be a little mini resurgence in this. Although from what I'm seeing, the market is still generally pretty healthy for this. And then last point, here's a few great collection sales here. There's a Midstate 67 red through NGC for $350. Here's a 66 for $185. Here's a couple PCGS coins, non-extra V. Here's a extra V 66 for $163. Here's a Midstate 63. This is the grade you really don't want. That's a waste of time to submit. Through PCGS for $57. And here's an NGC 67 for $490. All right. So I would say, the coins would sell, on eBay just fine. Consigning with an auction house means that you're going to give it some time in lieu of trying to maximize the amount of money. But even Great Collections has a fair amount of extra V graded Lincolns. I think this past week they had like 12 of them. And only a number, let's see, all the ones that are July 14th sold. So the 60s, well, actually, that's not a non-extra V. This one here and this one here. But for the most part, the other examples they had at a minimum fixed price, which is higher than what the market is, but they're trying to drum up some activity there. So just thought I'd let you know that these bigger auction houses are in the mix for that sort of thing as well. So please do be aware of that. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I would say the search is still on. 2024 has been just marginally okay for new discoveries. There's been a couple few neat things, I would say. Probably more varieties this year than last year, which says a lot to the overall quality of the production of these coins to this day. And, have fun with it. I would say if you have it, don't hold on to them. These things are a literal exploding hot potato. If you're kept holding the bag, one of two things are going to happen. These are going to be debunked as a variety, or the prices will just erode over time because people are looking for the next hot, heavy thing. And 2026 is around the corner. The semi-quincentennial 250th anniversary is just around the corner. And I'm going to say that between now and the next year and 5 months, it's going to be the ultimate litmus test. How are people going to respond to these before 2026 coinage comes out? It's going to be a wait and see moment. It's going to be exciting, but at the same time, a little bit harrowing if you're holding the bag with all of these in there. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. I am going to be on Whatnot tonight. I will also be participating in the new Vault Box Fun Box sale, which comes out tomorrow. So if you're looking to pick these up at MSRP, I would not wait. Jump on it. There's going to be a lot of banging coins. It's going to be it's going to be the cheapest release from Vault Box ever. So if you want, to try your hand at some of these awesome coins, man, I would be ready to go on the website at 9 o'clock or whenever it goes on sale, noon or whatever it is. But I will be selling a number of these on the platform Whatnot as well. So if you did miss out, keep in mind that the market is going to be much higher if you buy it secondarily than you would buying it direct from Vaultbox's website. And then we will also have a show also on Friday on Whatnot. If you guys are not joined up, you could save yourself $15 right off the rip if you joined with my my referral link, which is going to be down below in the description box. And it's a lot of fun. Be prepared. This website is going to be hot when the holidays hit, like it was last year. And we have our big holiday giveaway that we used to do on YouTube. We're going to be doing it on Whatnot again for year 2. So it's going to be awesome. Hope to see some of you there. Best of luck in all of your hunts on the 2023 Extra Vs. They are still out there. There's still BU rolls to be hunting through. And I'm out of here. You guys take care. Have a great day. Best of luck. And I will see you soon. So long.